Well, hello trendsetters. This is John with Gravel Cyclist, and sitting to my left is Mr. K-Dogg.
Hello.
Otherwise known as K-Dogg. And we both appeared at the 2016 Dirty Kanza, and Mr. K-Dogg here happened to win the 60 plus race. So we're going to ask him a few questions about his experience and all items related to that.
Okay.
So K-Dogg, 200 miles of gravel. This has to be your longest race, I'm assuming.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt.
Okay. Would you rate this as the hardest race you've ever done?
Yes, absolutely.
Was that because of just the length of the race, that sort of thing?
The lengths, hills, the running out of water, and 14 and a half hours on the bike, not knowing what I should eat or not eat. That was the hardest part.
And folks, he beat me by an hour. So yeah, and he's older than me. He's 60. Yeah, he's 61 years of age.
Train issues.
Well, I had a train issue, but whatever. That's beside the point. So anyway, was there like a defining moment where you thought, hey, I might have won this race?
No, because I was so miserable the last 100 miles with leg cramping. I said,
sorry,
you're not racing anymore. You're just in survival mode. So I told myself, just get across the line, just get the hell home. So I pretty much gave up racing, but I kept a decent pace, I guess. There was no race courage left. It was just whiny ride until you cross the line. That's what you got to do.
So you mentioned you ran out of water. That happened, I guess, what, checkpoint 2 to 3?
Pretty much all of them. Every checkpoint, I was totally out of water. 3 bottles is not enough when it's that hot, and you're running too hard in the beginning. So the next time I do something like this, I'm going to have a minimum of 5 bottles. Okay,
so I guess that would probably entail a camelback or something from your back.
Yeah, putting on all the dirt crap.
Okay, all right. Obviously, the mud was a serious factor for a lot of riders. Their race ended about 4 or 5 miles in. I know you managed to get through it pretty cleanly. That was, I guess, due to your bike choice. You did have to walk a little bit, though, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, my Eldorado is essentially a mountain bike with some Niner forks, so I had the clearance to put a fist everywhere around those tires to the frame. Nothing was going to get stuck in there.
Yeah, that was a big advantage. I mean, I saw so many guys, and myself included, where their bike was completely packed up with mud, and it's rendered useless. If you try to pedal while you drive, train breaks.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a good thing.
There were some pebbles built into that mud that they would just lock together like gravel and concrete and just set up. If you didn't stop and clean that out, you were going to snap some of the derailleur hangers, chains. I heard all of that, yelling and cursing. One guy yelling, there goes my effing rice. And,
yeah, 5 miles in, and that's not what you want to do after traveling so far. I understand you mentioned Pebbles. I understand you had a special friend accompany you for much of the race, a Pebble. Where was that Pebble located exactly?
It's embarrassing to say exactly where it was, but luckily it didn't bother me till the end of the race. But I learned never ride behind a fatty with fatty tires, because it's like a machine gun. All those little pebbles just coming at you like a shitstorm. It's sort of stupid to sit behind them. So I got out of there pretty quickly.
A fatty meaning a fat bike, and the Pebble was like actually inside K-Dogg shorts. Okay, we don't want to know.
Several, about the size of marbles.
Several. Okay, we don't want to know about the details. Moving along. And you broke the sundown, I think, by 2 minutes, something like that.
Yes, a guy named Bob on a fatty about 4 miles out. I said, I'm not racing or anything, just to get home. He goes, well, if you jumped a little bit, you might just make it. So I jumped, and I made it by like a minute. So
that's a very impressive effort, and that's your first time. So
well, amazingly enough, my cramps had gone away, but I didn't know that until I put a really hard effort in the last 4 miles.
One quick question about your nutrition. You mentioned obviously the bottles of fluid and such. I think you were using pro bars and using gels, I'm assuming?
Caffeinated and uncaffeinated. I had a plan, but it pretty much fell to the wayside. By the time I got to the last food stop, I was eating just to kill the pain. I wanted to forget where I was. So I was cramming anything down. There was a lady there with hot dogs, and I may have actually had one in my frenzy. anything to get me happy and back on the bike. But later it turned into a very strong desire to hurl on my bars, so I just stared at my front wheel for probably an hour and a half or two. And eventually the nausea went away, but there was just a potpourri of bad food in my stomach.
Okay, and you utilised the neutral support, or the, I should say, the Dirty Kanza hire crew.
Yes.
Was that a good experience, you think?
So yes, the chamois butter volunteers were wonderful. They grabbed my bike and held it, asked me what I needed, filled my water bottles. At one point, a guy came out with a rag and some chain lube, which was really needed, and took care of all that and just shoved me back into the race. They were very wonderful.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And would you do this race again?
Yeah, I'm still thinking about it. Don't ask me now.
Okay.
It was that painful.
We'll ask you again another time. Anyway, congratulations again on your win, and thanks for your time.
You're welcome. And one final note, Kansas is not flat. Remember that.
No, it's not flat. Oh my God. The Flint Hills really are hills with some serious gradients. Check out the Gravel Cyclist video. Bye for now.